Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. So if you've been around for a while, or if you discovered me because of the video I'm about to mention, or if you're just, going through my archive, I did a video called Cheap to Copic last year. I took these cheap touchnew markers, I took out the chisel nib, and I put a Copic brush marker in it. Proof of concept that you can do that. Some of my viewers have also done it with chameleon nibs because I speculated that would probably work, and it does. They tell me it does. But recently I had somebody comment on that video asking, could I do DIY brush nibs? So that's what we're doing in this video. Let's see if I can make a brush nib out of something else. Let's see how well they work. Let's get into it. I've got some nice thin sheets of craft foam here. I'm not sure if I want to cut out a few layers and have more of a layered nib, if I want to roll it or what, but I think this material will probably work out quite well for us. So our first victim is going to be 163 green bice. What is bice in the touchnew markers? So first thing we have to do, of course, is remove this nib. So we need to replicate everything below this chisel bit exactly, or cut it off and use that, as we did in the previous marker nib video. So it's got to be at least this long. No. Alright, so it's been a good 5 minutes. I'm not seeing any progress with this soaking through. Let's see what the end looks like. Well, we do have some soakage. Does it right? A little bit. Maybe it just needs a little help. Can I, like... What happens if I wrap this and shove it back in? Look how flimsy this stuff is. This might be too thin. That's just on there from contact with the actual tip. And then it wipes away. Okay, so sadly, the craft foam, it's a nope. Ordinary sheet of felt. Let's try that instead. I don't know if that's far enough in, but if any of these materials are going to soak it up, this should. Alright, so that took a few minutes to soak through, but as you can see, it has soaked through. It does coloring and not rubbing off. And that's not surprising, because a lot of times these are felt. After all, in Canada, we do call markers felt pens because they're felt tip markers. So I'm not surprised that this worked. So now the question is, can I make a nicer, more precise brush tip out of this? I think we're going to test other materials and then come back around to the things that kind of worked and see how we can perfect them. So our next material is kind of just a joke, but I'm actually honestly curious to see if this works out. We've got a pipe cleaner. How much do I have to fold it over? 3 times? 3 times goes in easy. Does 4 times go in easy? 4 times before it starts to get difficult. Okay, so. Alright, so it's been almost half an hour, and this is not finished soaking through, but it is soaking through. It does some interesting textures. Not super saturated or anything on here, but I think this is an interesting thing you could do if you want to get odd textures. Obviously, it's not a smooth, reliable nib. You're never going to do a lot of blending with this. But it makes some interesting textures. If you want something like that, you can always do that. By the way, I had a few other commenters asking if you could do the brush nib switch out on that bullet nib size. Could, theoretically, but just keep in mind that on these cheaper markers, it tends to be a much narrower nib, and whatever you end up using, the brush nib you end up getting or making is going to have to be that much thinner. It's also longer. So if you bought a pre-manufactured brush nib and you're going to replace it in the bullet nib end, you would have to trim down the tail, and you would want to very, very carefully trim it down on both sides so you get this thinner part in the center and just have the excess overhang of the thicker nib be even on both sides. I think if you did it all over on one side, you'd risk having the nib break. So, pipe cleaner. Interesting textures achieved. Definitely something you could do if you wanted that kind of effect. Happens to fit right in the cap very nicely, but it's not doing the brush thing for us, so disqualified. Good old kitchen sponge. This one happens to be just long enough to make a chisel type nib, so let's just do that for proof of concept. I don't know if that's actually gone all the way down to the core or not, because obviously being a sponge, it's quite squishy. So I'm gonna wait a minute and see if it's soaking through. If it's not, I'm gonna have to cut a longer piece. Okay, it's been a few minutes and I'm not seeing any soaking through. I did run it through with a pipe cleaner to try and hold it down there, but I don't think that's helping, just because it's so squishy. Oh, it is getting some. It's starting to soak up a little bit. I'm going to try shoving a much longer piece through and just seeing if that works faster. I'm getting impatient. It only took about 5 minutes for this to start soaking through, so let's see if this has made any progress at all. It has. It's made a lot of progress. Does it color? It does. That is rubbing off though. As you know, I expected that from a kitchen sponge, because they're not meant to hold everything. Oh, and it's picking up some other colors off of this white paper. How do I make that stiff enough to have just a straight core going down in, so maybe it actually soaks? Let's tape. Let's see if we have any luck this way. And once again, let's give it a couple minutes. Okay, the YouTube video I was watching to amuse myself is over now, and we still do not have soak through. That might be this marker. It might have been punished too much tonight. We're starting... We're kind of starting to get a little dry. So let's just... Okay. let's give this one a rest and stick this in a new victim. Alright, I'm 10 minutes into the next video I'm watching while we play with these things, and I'm still not seeing anything coming out the tip. Yeah, nothing coming out the top of that taped section. The bottom is fairly colored, but again, it's not saturated. Like the pipe cleaner, interesting thing you could do if you want these different techniques, but I bet if I unwrap this tape, it hasn't gone very far up the sponge yet. Yeah, see, right where the tape started to squeeze it off, it has not soaked further than that, and you can actually see the lighter green from the other marker. So that fails. I have earplugs. I'm not sure if I want to use them or not. Why are they so stuck together? Just because they're obviously not long enough. But I think that might make a really interesting tip. But I do also have these makeup sponges. So that is long enough. And being triangular, this is kind of already shaped for us. So let's get a strip off. And I think I am going to go ahead and do it a favor and tape down the pipe cleaner to it, just to give it a bit of structure going down into the barrel. Again, makeup sponges aren't made to do a whole lot of soaking because you want it to transfer the product to your face, not hog it. So we'll see if this soaks up. So far, the only material that's really a winner in terms of soaking the ink up is the felt, which is not a surprise, but I'm not really sure how to make that into a usable nib. There it went. Cute little nib. And once again, let's wait. Okay, so that is actually soaking down through, and it does color, but it's taking a long time. I'm getting impatient. Obviously, this is not going to be the most firm nib. It's kind of floppy, flimsy, but I want to try the next one while I let this soak through more so we can see what it's like when the ink actually comes through the tip. I am going to take this one. This one is marine blue. And I have taken, where'd I put it? I have taken the brush nib out of this generic dual-tipped water-based marker. This end is the brush nib, and this end is the fine liner nib. This is just, I don't think this actually has a name brand. It's just called dual art marker, but it looks the same as like every other one out there. I got it on either Wish or AliExpress a long time ago, a whole bunch of them. I picked the lightest yellow I could find because, like, I've scribbled some of it out now, and then if I put a dark blue in, we'll be able to tell when the ink is coming through. Is that small enough to go in this end? It is. Oh, okay. So that's quite a bit shorter. So we need at least this much. Obviously that is excessively long. It's gonna get squishy a bit in this cap. But if it works, that'll be interesting. That may be an option, cannibalizing your super cheap water-based markers to get a nib for your alcohol markers. That's not soaking through that well already. That's the ink off my fingers. Man, I made a mess. Look at that. That's coming through. And it's coming through fast. See how much brighter this is now than just a second ago? Because all of the remaining water-based color is getting pushed out, and we're already seeing that blue come through. Ooh, here we go. It's like a chameleon marker. This nib will never be the same again. Oh, I love that. That is, ooh, 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 ooh. Beautiful. How does that compare to this end? That's getting pretty darn close real fast. How mangled does this make it? Kinda mangled. That's okay. Alright, well, that's another option. I would say wait for them to die, don't just cannibalize them. If you have, or if you get these super cheap water-based markers, I don't like water-based markers unless they're true watercolor paint markers. You can sacrifice them, take the nibs out, whether you want to truly sacrifice them or wait till they're dried out. You can take them out. You can put them in these markers. Works just fine. The alcohol ink is the boss. It takes over really fast. That's an option. I'm not going to try the earplugs because if it works at all, it's just going to be the same as the makeup sponge, and they're kind of short. I have a squishy. I need another marker as a victim. We have another touchnew. This is Rose Red. Let's just go big or go home, right? As you can see, that is really hard to cut straight. But I think I might have gotten enough material here. This one will also be interesting to wait for and watch. But again, we have to wait. Okay, so I was using the old nib to color on this piece to test and see if it soaks through. That's just coloring again on the other side. It doesn't really soak through, and I was trying to pull this to peek a bit to see if it was going to soak up, and it's ripping. So that's not really a good material to use, whether it works or not. No. Okay. This marker is destroyed. Good job, Jenna. Okay, so I've got a piece of pipe cleaner folded over and trimmed off to this length and then some for structure, and then I'm wondering if I fold the felt over so there's some gap. Can I make a nib that way? And now we wait. Alright, so final recap. First we tried the nice thin craft foam sheets, and the part that went down in the barrel took some color, but it wasn't really coming out to the part that wasn't in the barrel, and then that color just rubbed off. So this is a no. Then we put some felt down in it, and it was soaking up nicely. It was making marks and not just rubbing away. It was staying in the felt and making marks. So we went ahead and we put it in this marker with more of a stiff core with pipe cleaner, and we are starting to get some coming through, but this has been sitting and trying for half an hour now, and It's making the faintest hint of marks there. It's trying. This one is plausible. You could probably get a fairly decent brush shape out of this when it does finally soak through, but it's going to take a very long time. So craft felt is definitely something you could make work if you have the patience. Kitchen sponge piece, and it soaked up where it was immediately in contact, and then that was it. I said that was next. I lied. We also did try the pipe cleaner that soaked up really, really well, and it would make a good alternative nib for different textures, but obviously it's got wire all the way through. It's never going to make a good flexible brush nib. But pipe cleaner for a nib, yes. For a brush nib, no. We also tried the makeup sponge, and that one has turned out surprisingly quite well. Out of the make your own nibs, this is the best one. It does actually draw, it does actually do wispies. It's not going to be as precise as a Copic or Chameleon nib because it's not a semi-rigid. It's very, very flexible. I already tried to wash the ink off my hands. I don't know why I'm touching it again. But this is definitely something you could do if you wanted to start blending with this, and maybe just put your chisel nib in a baggie and seal it and keep it moist. Remember, alcohol markers, they are basically a rubbing alcohol base, so you can always use that to juice up your nib again after if you need to revive it real fast. So, makeup sponge turned out to be the best DIY brush nib. Definitely nowhere near the quality, firmness, precision of a Copic nib, but it works. We also tried a squishy, and because of that squishy, I am never going to be able to use this marker again. That was an uber fail. Don't do that one. And then as the cop-out, we took the brush nib out of another marker and put it into this one. And I took it out, put the nib in this one. I was able to put it in the bullet nib side, so as you can see, this marker still has its chisel nib. Somebody was asking if you could do that. It was narrower. I did have to trim the tail off of the original nib and shove it down first to make it fit, and then this cap is not quite long enough, so it's getting a little bit mangled. But proof of concept, you absolutely can do this. The alcohol ink in the marker took over from the water-based ink that was in this very fast. So there's another option. You don't have to go get refill nibs. You can just steal them out of your old, cheap, hopefully worn out and not bought for this purpose, water-based markers. These are the successes of our dollar store brush marker, and I will see you again very soon.